essentially what happened was this elder, who was like a really low generation, came into town. He was only in town for a little bit, and like the girl and him sort of hooked up, and I guess she was telling him like what happened, possibly out of like, oh my god, I couldn't believe this happened, like just like I don't know if she intentionally meant it this way, but anyways, there was a whole bunch of people this elder summoned to the room, and it's like, okay, and I was one of them, and it's like he's asking questions, and I says and I was actually being quite shrewd about like my answers, and it's like finally, like I was the last. He let other people go, and I was the last one there, and he deemed me to be Diablerized, and it was like you have absolutely no proof, and it's like I know, and it's like it's just, it was sort of hokey. And then the Bruja, like henchmen. Bruja are basically vampires that are like thugs. Their abilities are like strength and attack and all this other stuff. And it was sort of funny because what happened was, because I was a Ventru, and Ventru were more of the vampires that had like fortitude, like and if their fortitude's high enough, they can actually walk out in the sun. But what happened was I was getting beat up by a Ventru, I mean a Bruja, to like die, because Diablerization is also another like killable crime. But this gangrel thought he had like use for me. So as the Bruja was beating me up, my fortitude was actually lasting, and I kept on beating him on like rock paper scissors. It's like, damn, okay, I'm gonna use this power, rock paper scissors. Ah, damn. And it's just, it was actually sort of lucky. The Bruja grabbed me and jumped out the window, and that was the last time I played. And like I talked to people after that, and says, wow, that was like the most intense gaming session ever, like because like everybody's wondering what's going on, like did I survive and all this other stuff, and it was actually really cool. So at least I left out with a bang. Then I got a job, and essentially like I couldn't play anymore. It's like I didn't really want to. And the guy that I had a friend with sort of oh my god, I couldn't believe what he did. I met him through this thing, like and I had an ex-girlfriend that cheated on me a lot. And so I remember one time, like for some reason I was crazy back then, so I kept on contact with her. And I guess he was over at my house, and he was talking, and she goes, oh, who's that? And I go, oh, a friend. Do you want to talk to him? I don't care. So anyways, she starts talking to him, and I find out later that they hook up. It's like, oh, wow. So what he does is that he treats her real nice and all this other stuff. She falls in love with him, and then he says, you know what? Nah, I don't want you anymore. And she's like, what the hell's going on? Yeah, you know what? You're an ass to my friend, so I'm going to ditch you, you bitch. It's like, what? And she's blaming me for what he did. I have no, like, I had no friggin' thing about it. It's like, but it was funny as hell, because, like, she deserved it and shit, but. Okay, that's enough for stories from Olakk.
We'll need more in the future.
Pardon?
We will need more in the future.
You just threw like, I don't know, maybe 3 pages of information at me. The only thing I can say is, did the dude jump out of the window? Is that what you said? Like he actually jumped out of the window?
No, didn't actually jump out the window. This is all, like, you say what you're going to do, and the GM says if you can do it or not. And,
He just declared I'm jumping out.
So this is like DND, only doing it without paper.
well, yeah. Well, actually, it was another role-playing game called Vampire the Masquerade, which they actually had a TV show going until the guy who played the prince actually got into a car accident and died, so they didn't really want to continue with the series without him, because he was the prince. If you look it up, it's a really old TV series. It was actually really good. But yeah, it is like D&D without the pen and paper, no dice.
You dressed up? Like an armor and foam weapon?
No, this is the vampire one. You don't dress up with armor and shit. But you know, like I said, I am a geek. I fully admit that. But I did have a suit because Ventrus they were more inclined to be like, you know, the leaders of the city, and that's what you did. You ruled the city and all this other stuff. You made sure that no one broke the masquerade, that humankind didn't know that vampires actually existed, all this other stuff. And I did actually come in a suit. People would come, like, you know, dressed as sort of their characters and stuff like that. And it, like, you know, you didn't really have to because vampires are just like humans that just suck blood. So essentially, there was others, like, you know, there was the Toreadors that were more artistic types, that basically one guy had a cane and a top hat, and it's like, it was actually quite interesting. But I did usually come in a suit because, like, you know, actually I sort of enjoy wearing a suit, and you just don't get too many chances to do that, so.
Someone's listening to Alice in Chains. Are one of you guys listening to it?
Are you hot?
No, it must be my sister.
Yeah, it's probably your sister.
It's gotta be, because I don't hear it.
I can just barely hear it. Tiki, what do you do?
None.
Besides being a bitch and Dalaran standing next to me?
I told you I love you. Look at that.
I don't know what ha ni on wing dong means.
The hell was that?
What fucking Tuki saying? Hold on. No, kid.
Is it 4 o'clock yet?
Nah, but if you smoke weed, you should probably go hit the bong. That's just what I'm saying. If you got a gravity bong, even better.
You know you're addicted to WoW when your girlfriend's pants are a low drop rate.
Oh, wow, wow, wow.
Oh, dang.